Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Professionals Pulse. I am Farida Musaddi, the co founder and CEO of Al Fateh Technologies Dubai. Al Fateh Technologies is not just a consultancy, but a catalyst for a positive and sustainable change in a rapidly evolving digital world. By offering strategic guidance, innovative solutions, and expert insights, we empower our clients to not only adapt to the digital revolution, but also to thrive within it. With a strong emphasis on digital transformation, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and digital marketing, Alphatay Technologies enables its clients to harness the full potential of technology, thereby revolutionizing their operations and market presence. In today's podcast, we dive deep into the ever evolving landscape of digital transformation and explore the top trends that are reshaping the way we live and work in 2023. From the powerful impacts of artificial intelligence and blockchain to the imperatives of sustainability and the intricacies of cybersecurity, we guide you through the transformative currents of the digital era. Whether you're a tech enthusiast, a business leader, or simply curious about the digital future, this podcast is your compass to stay ahead of the curve, offering insights and strategies to navigate the uncharted waters of this exciting digital revolution. Join us today as we unravel the secrets to success in the tech driven world of 2023. And joining us today is Mr. Sandeep Majumdar. Mr. Sandeep, a forward thinking business leader, brings 25 plus years of expertise in IT applications, business transformation, and digital infrastructure. As the president and CEO of GMR Group's data center division, he leads the company's transition into a versatile conglomerate excelling in physical infrastructure and entering digital infrastructures. With a talent for cross functional orchestration, Mr. Sandeep drove three times growth in cloud data center and network services for his territory at SIFI Technologies. His stint at NIIT Technologies highlighted his prowess in PNL management, client relations, and system integration. Armed with an armed with an executive MBA and a bachelor's in electronics engineering, Mr. Sandeep possesses strategic leadership, digital transformation skills, and a track record in global business expansion. Mr. Sandeep, we are really honored to have you today on our show, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Farida. And my pleasure. And to be able to have a chat with you and share my experience in some of the exciting technologies that you talk about. Indeed, the way I see it is, I think we are at a stage where technology is, I think, all pervasive. Everything that we use is all is in some way or other extremely well connected with technology. And let me start
Yes.
by just giving a little bit of introduction of what I do currently.
Okay.
So I think that that'll just set the context. So I'm actually in a startup role within a large organization. So GMR is actually a large physical infrastructure company, and we do airports. So basically, we operate airports, the airports of Delhi, Hyderabad, Goa, and a few airports outside the country as well. So that's obviously running and operating core and critical infrastructure. In addition to airports, the GMR group also drives power or energy generation. So we are a power generation company as well. In addition, we are also into urban infrastructure where we construct industrial houses, warehouses, software technology parks, and so on and so forth. And
Okay.
Some of the people may also know that our group is diversified and has other interests as well. So our group also owns some of the sports teams like IPL, Delhi team like the Delhi Capitals, and a few other sports like Kabaddi and a few other things, other cricket franchises across the world also. So we are a diversified conglomerate. And my charter here is to ensure that as the world is moving digital, so I think my role is very pivotal to the digital transformation. Like, I am
Correct.
part of a physical infrastructure group which realizes that the world is already moving from a physically connected or a physical infrastructure world to a digital world. So how
Correct.
does a company like JMR stay relevant? Well, obviously, the physical world will be there, the airports will be there, the power infrastructure will be there, roads, highways, and all things will continue even 50 years from now or 100 years from now. But today, that we are living in this physical and digital world, and with digital not as a passing phase or a passing fad, it is a permanent change in our lives. So the group decided that we must have a strong foray and participate in the digital transformation journey. What is most logical
Okay.
for us is, since we are an infrastructure company, is to get into digital infrastructure. So a logical extension, a physical infrastructure company expands and goes digital by getting into digital infrastructure. And within digital infrastructure, we've made a choice of starting off with data centers as our first pit stop. And obviously digital infrastructure has a few other investments as well, so things like your IoT or cable, submarine cable investments or tower investments and so on and so forth. But to begin with, our first charter is to get into investments for digital infrastructure by using data centers. And the reason data centers, because we believe data center is at the pillar or at the core or at the back end infrastructure of digital transformation. And the reason we chose
Correct.
this is because we already run airports. Running an airport is running a critical infrastructure. An airport has to run 24 by 7, 365 days a year, non-stop operations every day. So it gives us that hustle of running something which is 24 bar 7, 365 days a year. That DNA is there in the group. And obviously, data center at the end of the day is an industrial building. So we can set up industrial buildings by virtue of our EPC capabilities. And on a runtime basis, more than 50% of the expenditure of running data centers is actually electricity. So with our
Okay.
power generation capabilities, that's a native skill that the group has. So all my role is to
Correct.
marry all these capabilities and actually set up a data center. So that's the journey that we have started about a year back, and we
Okay.
will be and hopefully very soon in the next few months we will be announcing our basic strategy in terms of how do we expand into the digital infrastructure using data centers as our first pitch stop. So that's the background, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. Is in terms of forging partnerships with relevant market participants with whom we will probably go ahead and set up the data center.
Okay, so Mr. Sandeep, since you've already got the momentum running for today's talk show, exploring more on that, according to you, what are the key drivers behind this digital revolution that we are experiencing today? Uh, I think a wonderful example that you talked about GMR, who's so diverse and who's into so many different kind of investments and groups. But a company at that scale also today is thinking about digital transformation. So, what are the key drivers that are driving organizations towards this revolution?
Well, I'll keep this as a very simple answer so that a wider audience can understand. Digital transformation, the essence of digital transformation is actually transformation at scale. So something that may not have been possible using traditional means, traditional physical means to scale. Using digital transformation, you can scale. So that's the simplest definition of why people get into digital transformation. And any example that I quote that
Yeah.
all of us are extremely familiar with. So be it B2C examples or B2B examples. So let's take an example of any B2C example, like let's say food delivery at home, right? So earlier, food delivery at home, if at all, would have been possible if the restaurant or the eatery had their own staff with an ability to maybe do a home delivery, and that would have been limited. I don't know how many people did have that option available. But today, using apps like Zomato or Swiggy and a few other applications in different parts of the world, right? You are delivering this at scale. So you have transformed the industry where maybe a few shops could deliver food at home. Now everybody is able to just at a tap of finger or a tap of maybe a few clicks here and there is able to
Correct.
consume the services, and it's happening at scale. So from maybe a few people being able to deliver it from their own restaurant, now it is happening at scale where hundreds and thousands of people are able to do that in hundreds and thousands of cities. So
Yes.
that's the simplest definition of digital transformation, where you're impacting lives at scale and continuously by using technologies like so obviously, so that's the business imperative is transformation at scale. The
Yeah.
technology
Reach is much wider.
yes, and the technology imperative is using modern day solutions like cloud to be able to scale, modern day
Correct.
technologies like Internet of Things, modern day technologies using cybersecurity, modern day technologies using let's say social networking as well, because all of this, so for example, if you are able to if you're ordering something, you're not only using something which is scalable, which is on the cloud, but you are also ensuring that it is that it scales. You have an experiential journey where you know that this has left the basically the restaurant, it's on the way. You can share the progress of that with other friends who are also there, right? So it's just not only consuming a food, it's also experience with others.
Correct.
So you're using social networking as well as part of that. So anything that connects cloud, your social media, your cyber security, and network at scale. You basically network. The faster the network, the better. The 4G, 5G, and so on and so forth. That is digital transformation for us.
Perfect. So, according to you, how are businesses adapting to this rapidly changing digital landscape, and what strategies are they using? I'm sure you must be having lots of examples to share about this, but how do you think, or what strategies can they implement to stay competitive?
So I'll so I'll give a more an economic answer to this. What happens is we operate under various economical upheavals and cycles, right? So 2 or 3 years
Okay.
back, the businesses were reeling because of COVID, and that had its
Yes.
own impact. And during that time, I think people had different strategies. Today, the market is maybe 3 years on from COVID, and today the market has different strategies. So I think most important is to keep track of business cycles that are happening, and be agile and adaptable to ensure that your digital transformation goals are met. Like if I have to just look at the underlying market sentiment. So economic activity is all a function of market sentiment. We would have heard in the last maybe 8 or 10 months that okay, there is war looming, there is recessionary fears, interest rates have been rising, and all of that, and that led to a bit of a credit freeze, and that also led to a lot of maybe some of the startups sort of coming into trouble, who may not have access to as
Correct.
much capital they might have not they might have needed. But I was just
Yeah.
looking at data as of yesterday. The US Q3 GDP data is out, and
Okay.
as far as the U3 the Q3 US GDP data, US grew at 4.9%. That's a massive growth. So
Correct.
under an environment where you're saying, oh, there is high inflation, there is rising interest rate, war, and fears of recession, look at the growth of US in the Q3, and this was way ahead of market estimates. Market was estimating, Wall Street was probably estimating this to be at the level of 3.8, 3.9 at best case scenario 4, but the market has delivered a 4.9% GDP growth for Q3. And if I have to contrast that with Q2, Q2 was 2.1%. So I
Oh,
think markets, yes. So the markets are definitely turning bullish, I mean, even if I look at, let's say, the stock exchange, in terms of S&P movement, S&P in the last month has moved by 13.5%. And
okay.
if I look at a 6 month period, S&P has probably moved by around close to 5 or 6%. And if I contrast that with last year, last year around this time, S&P had actually lost 21% in the previous 1 month preceding this time. So between September and October, S&P had lost 21%. So what I'm saying is economic cycles have a great impact in terms of how people look at digital transformation, how people invest into digital transformation. But I think, and because the stories are different. The stories are different because the
Correct.
compelling reasons are different. Because you want to transform at scale. So transformation could be in terms of streamlining or streamlining your supply chain processes, where you cut down on your cost structure, or transforming maybe your delivery channels or your market access channels by leveraging technologies like AI and ML and BI and analytics. So you mine your data to be able to provide the right amount of customer insights to your end customer. So there are
Correct.
two broad imperatives. One broad imperative from a digital transformation is, how do I grow my business? So that's
True.
or rather growing of business by is one imperative of digital transformation. Second is, how do I streamline my operations? How do I make it faster, leaner, cheaper, better quality? So these are the two different dimensions that you play on. Again, depends on industry, but I think these fundamentals will never go away. So you first
Correct.
look at your economic cycle that you are that which economic industry are you part of. Based on that, the business will drive whether you need a cost cutting or a cost reducing measure, or you need a business expanding measure. So people look at business expansion when the going is good, and there are funds available to,
When going, yes.
and when there are funds available for you to expand. So that's
Correct.
how I look at it, or rather, we try and look at it is, look at your economic cycles. Your economic cycles will determine where you stand. And again, if you're an entity or a corporate, you also look at what do you want to do vis-a-vis, how do you want to stay ahead of the pack. So
Correct.
in terms of newer product offerings, or being closer to the customer needs by identifying their needs beforehand and making those suggestions beforehand to the customer. So it's a combination of all these factors, where you end up using the buzzwords that are available today. So BI, analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all of that. But these are technologies that you use essentially to drive business growth at scale.
Yes. So, yes, first figure out whether the transformation needs to be done internally for streamlining or whether externally for an expansion. And then accordingly choose the way forward.
That's right. And as far as, let's say, senior leaders are concerned, so if you're looking at any
Yes.
organization, uh, uh, the top management priority is always to just look at, concentrate on let's say, two large focus areas. One
Correct.
one is change management, and second
Yes.
is talent management. So broad areas which a CEO will look at in any company is only two. There are hundreds of other things, underlining layers, but he has people under him to run the show. But if I really
Correct.
collapse this into two sort of most critical items. One, as I said, is change management, and the second is
Yes.
talent management. So let me get a little bit deep into each of this. So change management. So there are continuous innovations, market trends, market changes that are happening. So how does your
Yes.
organization respond to the changes in your environment, your industry,
Correct. Your
your market,
adaptability.
your adaptability, right? So
Yes.
companies that do well are companies who are able to constantly manage the change as they grow, as the industry grows, so that they remain relevant at every
Yes.
stage.
Correct.
It is, I mean, that's how companies remain for ages and centuries. That as long as you are relevant for that for that era,
Era.
you
Yes.
are you're relevant. So change management is very critical, and under change management is where you look at new trends, new technologies, be it digital, be it anything for that matter. I'm saying any technology disruption would come under change management. And as I said, the next role for the CEO is to look at talent management. Do I have the right talent for me to be able to manage these changes that is happening? So do I have the right CTO? Do I have the right data scientist? Do I have the right data analyst? Do I have the right business people who are forward thinkers to be able to be the movers and shakers of our industry, and so on and so forth? So that's from a leadership perspective. Focus on identify changes. Focus on identifying changes ahead of time, and
Correct.
then focus on having the right talent to be able to drive those changes as a business model, basically in sync with the time. Those are the two sort of prime roles that I see in terms of leaders driving the business leaders. I'm saying that either business leader. What I mean is either the CEO or the promoter, or the people running the business. As long as they're
Correct.
focused on identifying these trends, the business is in good hands.
Okay. So that's wonderful. And can you highlight some of the most prominent digital transformation trends that have been emerging in this latest era that we talk about?
Yeah, sure. So I think things that are so I guess I mentioned that for any digital transformation, your backbone has to be your core, because till you
Correct.
don't have the strong backbone from a network or your infrastructure perspective, you cannot render or deliver those services. So I think
Yes.
that's your foundation, that's your starting point. So I think work with a very strong core from an infrastructure perspective, and that's where I think today, if you notice, people are all being agile, and are using a mix of your public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud to have an architecture that allows them to scale. There was a trend maybe about 2 or 3 years back where most corporations were all running to be not just basically digital natives, but also cloud first organizations. When I mentioned cloud first, it was public cloud first, and people did take this journey. And for people who have taken this journey over the last 2 3 years, they've also realized that public cloud is expensive. So
Okay.
although public cloud was touted as something which might not only help them scale but also help them reduce costs, people are now slowly realizing that public cost is an animal, if not well managed, can really go out of proportion. So I think people are now, so from a digital foundation perspective, people are now moving towards a hybrid cloud scenario. So that's definitely a trend. Another trend that I can see is something known as cloud repatriation. So cloud
Okay.
repatriation. So I was in US few weeks back, and I was interacting with a lot of infrastructure heads during my visit, and I saw this term being used repetitively. And so what I understand by this is, people maybe about between 2 to 5 years back, they chose to make their organization completely cloud ready and private cloud enabled. But today, once their entire infrastructure is predominantly on one hyperscaler or two hyperscalers, they are finding it very difficult to sustain and answer to their CFOs or their stakeholders in terms of the rising sort of bill to run the hyperscale cloud operations. So this cloud repatriation is a term where people who moved from an on-prem environment to a private to a hyperscale public cloud environment are now looking at mechanisms to optimize this infrastructure on a hybrid cloud. So they will not abandon their investment on hyperscale cloud, but they will definitely moderate that investment, use a mix of private cloud to ensure that their cost structure is better managed, and then drive the innovation. So your backbone is strong to be able to handle. So this is definitely a very a strong trend in terms of what organizations are trying to do. Have their backbone flexible. So
Okay.
and so that ensures that you have the scalability of a hyperscale cloud, and you also have the cost economics and the flexibility of a private cloud. That way
All
you
right.
are able to manage your stakeholders, where you manage your costs and scalability and additional features that hyperscale cloud offers, like sort of intuitive BI models or other mechanisms for you to target the customer in terms of other analytics or integration to uh, uh, basically other your IoT and a few other technologies. All of that is natively provided by the hyperscale cloud provider. So it is this judicious mix of cloud is where I think the transformation is happening. So that is one very clear trend. I mentioned about data and analytics. I think that has been going around for definitely few years. But I think people
Correct.
are very
Yes.
clear that they're identifying their sort of metadata structures so that they are able to utilize the data that is available and come up with more customer specific insights. So another trend, as I said, is to have a very clear cut data strategy. So you work on your cloud infrastructure, have a clear data strategy. Once you have a strong data strategy, then you apply this data and extract the right amount of intelligence out of that. And based on that intelligence and the insights, you apply that back to business. And that's how it's a continuous process as you try and do that. What is also being people are also waiting for 5G to be sort of implemented, because I think 5G will ensure a lot of applications which are a bit latency sensitive or uh, are accessible to people, like just like maybe a few years back your 3G and 4G at scale and at lower costs, lower data costs, created the first wave of sort of data revolution in India. Now,
That's
or
true.
not just India, not just India, I think worldwide. Now,
Worldwide. Yes.
with 5G, with 5G coming in, not only will you have data at scale, but you will also be able to reduce your latency. So
Correct.
both of these, so I think 5G is another technology which I think people are sort of really waiting with their
Forward.
bated breath in terms of not just 5G being deployed, but being deployed at scale.
Correct.
So these are, I think, some of the key key things, the trends that are happening. Outside of this, let me just tell you that there are some fundamental changes that are happening. So some fundamental changes that are happening is if you notice, there are applications like a generative AI application like Chat GPT and others which are now coming up, right? Now, whether people like it or not, they will have a huge impact on the workforce of tomorrow, because that's a fact that whether you like it or not, by
It's
2024,
going to be there.
95. So it not only is going to be there, it is already there as of 2023. So I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
going a year ahead and just saying that by 2024, 95% of employees will be using generative AI models in their work day. Whether employers like it or not, it's going to be a reality. And I'm
It's
quoting
going
this
to be a
number
yes.
and I'm quoting this number out of one of the Gartner studies that they had done, that 95% of Gartner, or one of the leading some leading studies that they had done, that 95% of of people will be using some sort of generative AI routinely to do their tasks. Another trend is by the next sort of 3 years. So today we are in 2023. By 26, amount of code written by humans will come down by half.
Yes, yes.
It'll
I
be
agree.
it'll be 50%. It'll be 50%. So that's another key trend where balance code will be written by the machines. They will recommend the code to be delivered.
I think
So
developers will be
mark my
used to customize.
mark my words. Amount of code written by humans will be down by half. What does that
Correct.
do to the people who write the code? So that means they will have to be engaged in some alternate professions or alternate work streams. So that's a challenge that I think leaders will face in the next 3 4 years. I'll give you another perspective that by the next 3 years, say by 2026, one fourth of your draft legal contracts will actually come out as machine written, because laws don't change every day,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So your contract templates, your NDA documents, your purchase order related documents and
I
terms
think
and
that is
conditions
also
and other
already on
stuff.
the way.
It is already on the way. That's right. So I'm saying and I'm just giving you a number from an industry perspective, a research number, that by 2026, 25% of legal documents would be generated using AI. So or generative AI. So this is a clear trend that we have to sort of watch out for, and not just a trend to watch out for, but also figure out that that as I said, 50% of code will now be written on by machines. We'll have to now assess and plan for new skills. You
Again,
may
we
you
have
may
to
not
adapt to that change.
Exactly. So the skills that we have today may not be the skills that we might need 3 years from now. So we have to
Correct.
assess and figure out what are the new skills that you want to have 3 years down the line. Another aspect for us to do is assess and plan for governance, because governance will also change. Because if your mix of providing the code or the article or the services is changing, its underlying governance mechanism cannot be what it was, maybe what it is today. So the governance
Correct.
mechanism also changes. So there are societal implications of a lot of these things, of the trends that we are seeing today, and this is going to be the most disruptive decade. I'm sure every decade has been disruptive in some way or the other, but I'm just anticipating that the coming 5 to 10 years is going to be extremely disruptive.
That's true. So, going by, as you said, the governance and the implications, what are the ethical considerations and challenges associated with this digital transformation, especially in terms of cybersecurity and the data privacy?
I think a great question. And I think the fact that you linked it with ethical constraints is very interesting, because I'll just give you a little story. You'd have heard of this moonlighting, right? In the last 2 3 years, where a lot of people were actually working from home, and while they were working from home, they were in a position to actually take up more than one role, which
Correct.
was not ethically right. So,
Correct.
so what happened is that flexibility provided people with choices, and some people ended up making wrong choices, ethically incorrect choices, where they would timeshare themselves, and maybe first half of the day they will work for employer A, and the rest of the rest of the day would be with employer B. So some
Yeah.
people ended up making ethically incorrect choices when technology presented themselves with choices. So
Correct.
I think there will be ethical dilemmas, and I think governance and cybersecurity will be the mechanisms. Will have to tune up to be able to handle these things. It is, and they will have to evolve over time. So I may not have a an answer that, okay, these are the 5 things that has to be done, because every day there will be nuances of it which will get
Yeah.
exposed, and based on those nuances,
Correct.
you'll have to take the right steps. I'll give you one more sort of stuff that I heard, and I can't validate whether it's true or not. What happened is, in one of the companies, which was a Western company, they one gentleman outsourced his own job to basically an offshore location, and he
Oh,
did not tell the employer.
okay.
So for the next 3 years, he kept enjoying his salary, and in turn, he had employed somebody else in a lower cost economy to do his tasks.
Oh,
So what do you say ethically to that?
and this might be true.
Sure. That's right. So I have heard of it. I just don't know whether it's validated 100%
Yeah,
correct or not, but that is what I've heard.
correct. I think the more technology gives us the freedom and, as you said, choices, uh, people find a way to work something out of it and make their choices. And as you said, ethically incorrect choices also. So it's all upon us how we use it to our advantage. And in fact, even for employers, there is no underlying rule that one can use to govern all these things or to make sure that these things are not happening. Uh, Organizations can be alert, but I don't think there's 100% effective rate to be able to track this or stop this.
So organizations have to be alert, and they
Correct.
have to embrace change, and they have to be aware that there is a potential for a pilferage or a leakage or people resorting to the not most ethical means. So they have to be agile. So as business processes change, uh, I think the governance process will have to stay in tune. Governance and security process will have to sort of continuously be tuned up to ensure that they are not lagging. Because what happens in the industry, I've seen that a particular aspect of the industry takes a lead, and the rest of the industry lags and just follows the rest of it. So I'll just give
Correct.
one or two other examples just to let you know what I mean by that. So when you come up with, let's say, new version of a software, right? So you spend hell lot of a time in terms of maybe sitting down with the user interface, and the best of features, colors, schemes, and all of that. And here's is a fantastic version of the software. The company is very proud, and they release it in the market. Now, when this release comes out, you figure out that, oh my god, one thing that we didn't account for is this is more hungry version. So we need more CPU, more RAM, more bandwidth, and all of that, right? So sometimes an application takes the lead, but the network or the infrastructure doesn't go in pace,
Doesn't-
so that
Yes,
the overall experience of the application is not the best. Not because of the
correct.
application wasn't well written, but the
The
overall
supporting
enterprise architecture.
infrastructure. Yes,
Yes, the overall enterprise architecture was not well thought of. So as
correct.
I said, maybe the infrastructure was not well thought of, or the security aspects were not thought through well, or the network aspects did not get the same attention as the application architecture got. So all the architectures are equally important. So when you're
Correct.
looking at transformation under digital, people tend to focus, and I'm not saying it is incorrect. Is they focus on the functionality, but beyond functionality, you have to look at other core elements, which is infrastructure, security, and network, because all of these things together, so the application, infrastructure, network, and security together will provide the consumer experience. So you have to try and
Correct.
look at all of these aspects together at any point of time, along with the governance.
Yes, that's true. And this can apply across all the industries, not only certain sector, certain organization, even across sectors, be it the education sector, be it the health sector. I think the ethical considerations and the governance is equally important across all the sectors, because everywhere we are seeing this digital transformation. So it's equally important to have that kind of back-end mechanisms to also keep a track of the wrongdoings.
True, because I think when you look at tech today, you are seeing tech in multiple formats. you see fintech, you see health tech, you see clean tech, and so many techs, right? Edutech.
Yes.
So
EduTech,
the
AgriTech.
more that's right. So the more the avenues, the more benefit that the industry has, and but I'd rather focus on the benefit that each of them provides, but and just ensure that our governance layers are strong. But I think the good part is all of these are there, and they are definitely making a huge impact, whether it's health tech, edu tech, clean tech, and so on and so forth. So I think as consumers, I think we should happy. But as regulators or as internal auditors or external auditors and others, I think their job is going to get tougher and tougher each day.
Correct.
Consumers are, I think, happy. You know, they will just keep looking for more choices and faster, better, cleaner, and all. And I think this is just a consumer era now.
So, Mr. Sandeep, lastly, what are, I mean, we already talked about it, but what kind of experience, what kind of advice would you want to give to organizations who are moving towards this digital transformation? What kind of risks should they look out for? And how would you summarize all of these things, keeping in mind the positives and the negatives? How can an organization go ahead?
So, so my little summary would be that transformation was not made in one day. So any transformation will I think you have to start off with the right business case, evaluate those that business case, and start it off as small projects which have their own return of investment. So start it off as incrementally build them upon. So that's your best business case in terms of and so build a business case, do proof of concepts to validate those business this thing with the stakeholders, and as the proof of concept sort of validates, then seek more investments and then seek more participation from your sort of corporate stakeholders, and then but it is something that you have to perpetually do that. So
Correct.
my so if I have to sum it up, is digital transformation is a given, but it's a long and it's a continuous journey. It really doesn't have an end goal, but it has markers at various stages. You start off by looking at smaller goals, and as I said, do POCs and be successful, and carry your stakeholders so that they see small successes to begin with. And as long as small successes are seen, the management is far happy in investing on on larger dollar sums for bigger successes. So that would be my advice to anyone.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep, for enlightening us about these latest trends in digital transformation. I think organizations can use these strategies and accordingly plan the entire transformation. And also, as you made us aware about what is coming in the future, what to look out for, and how to prepare ourselves of what's coming in for us. So, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure,
As
Sarida, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much, sir. Signing off as we journey through the ever evolving landscape of the digital transformation in 2023, it's imperative, as Mr. Sandeep said, that we remain adaptable, innovative, and insightful. These transformation trends will undoubtedly shape our future, and it is with excitement and anticipation that we embrace the opportunities they present. In this era of change and possibility, let us navigate the digital revolution with curiosity and resilience, working together to harness the potential of emerging technologies and transform our world for the better. Stay informed, stay inspired, and let's shape the future together. See you all next time. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.